In 2020, the Education Department of East Camp released an exemplar for different subjects, and this is the RT Practical Exam Exemplar for grade 11 RT, as I said, and this is the video for question 2 of that paper. So the first question was to do with some general, particularly grade 10 stuff. Now we're dealing with some grade 11 stuff with arrays and text files combined. So let's have a look. So first of all, there's question 2.1, and they tell me that there is a global array called array quantity, which has 10 integers. And there you can see the integers that they represent the total number of positive cases for the first 10 days of April. Okay, now this is looks like it's a parallel array. Yes, it's a parallel array, which means that there's another array called array days, which also has 10 items, and that represents so what this basically means is at 1,505 cases happened on the 3rd of April. So this value in position 1 relates to position 1 of that. So that's how a parallel arrays work. That's not actually a Delphi feature, just the way that you've programmed them. So this relates to this. So position 6 of this one relates to position 6 of that one, basically. So they want us to write code that, so this is the way we get easy marks. If you know your algorithms, you can get these marks very quickly. You can write the algorithms if you know them very well. You score in not only easy marks, but you also score in time for the questions that you need some time to think. So know your algorithms, know your text file handling algorithms, know your sort algorithms and your basic array algorithms. So here we go. Sort the array named array quantity as well as the array days in descending order. So we want to sort this array and make sure that these values also shift up accordingly, so that at least if I move this one to position 4, at least this 3rd must also move to position 4, so that it keeps the integrity, so that the values are still relating to each other across. So this is a sort algorithm. So first of all, we need to write the sort algorithm. So let's go to the program. There it is. We click on the button for the display, and if I go to the top there, you can see your 2 arrays that have already been populated for you. Okay, so we're going to do a sort algorithm. So how do we do that? Now this is where you go into zombie mode, because you've learned your algorithm very well. So we obviously need 2 looping variables. So I need an I and a J. That's not fishy at all, because there used to be a fish company called I and J. And you obviously need a swap variable to swap them. Now the one, let's just double check here. The one array is an integer, the one's a string. So I need a temp variable for the integer, so I'm going to call it temp, and I need a temp variable for the string array. Boom. Because I'm going to need to swap both of them. So for I equals, now how does it work? It goes 1 until the number of items in the array minus 1. They don't tell me if there's a variable that keeps track of how many values there are in the array. It just says there are 10. So we can assume that there are 10, so we just need to go till 9. Okay, so that's my inner loop. My outer loop for J will go from I plus 1 until the end of the array, which is until 10. So that's how that one will work. And then we've got our question. We're going to ask them if the array, now we're sorting it according to the quantity. In the array quantity I is bigger than array quantity J. Okay, so that's what we remember because we've learned that. But let's just reflect here. They want me to sort it in descending order. And the only thing I have to change if it's descending order is to shift that the other way around. So I've learned the one that says just go greater than the first loop, greater than the second loop. But I just remember if it's descending, then I just swap that around. If that is true, that means they're in the wrong order. Then I need to swap the array quantity values. And how do I do that? Well, I first record a temporary value of array quantity I, okay, and then I change array quantity I to whatever's in array quantity J, and then I change whatever's in array quantity J to be whatever's in I temp. The way I remember it, array quantity, there we go. The way I remember it is I always start with the temp is equal to a value. It doesn't actually matter which one, but whatever that one is must come over here, and that will then equal to the other array, and then that array value will come there, and that'll equal to temp, and then temp goes all the way back. So it makes like a loop almost. It looks like a loop. So we did that, but whenever we swap the values in the array quantity, we also need to swap the array in the array names accordingly. Is it array names? Array days, sorry, array days. Our days. Okay, so there we go. So there we go. So we're going to swap the array day. So if we swap I and j of array quantity, we need to do the exact same swap in array days to keep it consistent. If we swap that value and that value, then that means we need to swap this value and this value, if that makes sense. So we literally going to do the same thing. So stemp, because we're dealing with strings now, equals to array days r, and then array days, which one? R, because we dealt with r last, is equal to array days j, and then array days j is equal to whatever the temp variable was. R to R, J to J, S temp. Well, I've got RE. Okay, so there we go. I think we've done everything. There we go. It's very parity here, by the way. It's R quantity. So it's arrays there. So there we go. That's the sort. I think we sorted now. Excuse the button. So we've done the sort. Fantastic. And we did it in descending. Here we go. Low sort there. Now display the contents of the two arrays in the rich edit using neat spacing. Neat spacing. So I think they've done the tabs for us, and I think they've done the labels for us. Yes, they've done the label. So we just need to go through the array. We need to go. Now I can use R again because I'm finished using R from the sorting. I'm not using it anymore. So let's go and use R. And I'm just going to go, hey, the rich edit, the lines add, and we need to display. We need to display first the day, which is the value in array days at position R. And then we're going to put a tab followed by array quantity at position R. Okay, so there we go. But the problem is, remember, this is a string, that's fine, but this is not a string. Let's convert from an int to a string, so we can put it in. So there we go. I think that's the display. So let's have a look. Let's run it. Let's see if we get the exact same results. We won't get that thing at the bottom because we haven't done that yet. But at least we can test our results quickly. There we go. It's busy trying to compile. Come on, compile. There we go. I think it's there. There it is. There we go. Boom. Did I miss it? Okay, there we go. Let's test it. And does it look the same? It's got the same values. It's in descending order, and the values have swapped appropriately. Fantastic. Okay, so there we go. The values are working. So there we go. That's fantastic. Now, what do we do next? How do we get that average at the bottom? What do they say about the average? Calculate and display the average of all the infections around it to a whole number. So the average would be adding all them up together and divided by, there are 10 values, so we would divide it by 10. So we need to add up all the values. So we're going to add up total. So I have our total variable. And every time we loop through this array, actually I can do this over here. When I display it, because I'm going through the loop already, I'm going to do it here. Display it, but while we displaying it, hey, we can say, hey, total please, is equal to whatever's in total plus array, is it quantity, eh? That's got the number value in. Take that quantity, add it onto our total. But whenever you're doing this, you must, what you must do to our total? You must initialize it, start it at 0. So while we're displaying all the values, we're just going to keep adding them while we go along. And then at the end, we can display the average. So I'm going to make a real variable called rave. You guys ever been to a rave? This is a rave. Or average. Rave variable. Not a rave burger, a rave. And that equals to the total divided by 10, because that's how many records there are in total. If there was a variable that kept track of how many values there were in the array, you would then use that variable. But we do that. And then we're going to say, hey, rich out lines add. We must display it like that. Obviously, there's a line, so we're going to put in a #13 first. You could obviously put a blank line and then display the other line. Then we want the text average number of infections. Average number of infections. It's a very morbid topic, this infections. I thought we were, like, I'm so over COVID. Do we need to have more COVID stuff? Okay, we're going to say equal to, and then we're going to add the rave variable here. But it's not a, it's a real, so let's convert it from a float to a string, but they obviously want to display it rounded to the whole number. Actually, so we don't actually need a real variable. You can just round it. We could have just rounded it. Why am I going too far? Boom. We could have just rounded it. So I actually could, over here, I could just round it. Round the variable. Use the round function, and then when I display float to string, I could actually just I don't even need to put any floater string f, because if it's rounded it'll be a whole number already. I think it should be. That's what I'm thinking it'll do. So let's run it and see what it does. And display. Up. That does look like the right number. Yep. There we go. And displays like the way we want it. Fantastic. There we go. That's one done. Great. Is that all? That's all. Let's go. 21 marks. Yo. A lot of marks. Easy marks, because you knew how to do your sort and you knew how to display, and so you could get those marks quickly. You've now scored extra time for the parts of the question of the paper that you need to think. Now, you're provided with a text file called numbers.txt. Now, I have put the text file over here so we can see it. There we go. And we are going to, we've been provided with code, a constant array. So there's a constant array called 86. Okay, so we've got an array called array add. You're going to calculate the multiples of 18 by using the diagram below. So there's a value in the text file and there's a value in the array, and we've got to append them. So 1 and the 18, not add them like 1 plus 8 equals 9, just the 1 from the text file, and we put the 8 next to it and we get 18. Do the following: write code to display a message and exit. So this is our text file. Okay, so we're dealing with text file, we're reading from a text file. So before I even start, I'm going to go into zombie mode and just type in my text file algorithm. Why? Because I've learned it well. And I want to score easy marks. So the first thing I'm going to do is, okay, we're over here. I need a text file variable of type text file. And I need an S line. Okay, as I said, I'm going into zombie mode. I'm making sure that I get my marks. So I'm going to go if file exists. What's the file called? Numbers.txt. Numbers.txt. If that file does not exist, basically, if it equals to false, then begin end show message. File not found. Remember, I'm in zombie mode now, and then I'm on exit. Then over here, I'm going to go assign file. What am I doing? I'm assigning my text file variable to this numbers.txt. So from this point on, I don't need to use numbers.txt. I just need to use the text file f. Then we start at the very beginning with reset f, and we're going to loop for while not end of file f, begin, and we're going to read line from f into s line, not in, where's that 9 coming from? There we go, into s line. Why is s line? Oh, we didn't actually give s line a type. We said it must be a string. Thank you. And then we're going to do stuff here with the with S line, and then everyone forgets the last step. Close the file, people. Close the file. So I went into zombie mode. I'm reading from a text file. Write code to display message exit if it doesn't exist. Yes, we've done that. Now we read the lines into an array and append the values. They want me to read the lines from the text file into an array and append the values using the constant array named array add to each of the corresponding values. Do they want me to add this to the array? Okay, so they basically want me to make another array. So I'm going to make another array. So we want to go, this array is an array from 1 to 5. So we're going to make another array, numbers, I don't know, of type array, which is an array from 1 also to 5. And we're going to make it of an integer as well. So there we go. So it's an integer. So what are we going to do? So every time we read a line from the text file, so the very first line we get is a 1. So when you are adding to array, you need to keep track of which position you are adding to. So I'm going to have a integer, our count, the Dracula variable, our count Dracula, and I'm going to initialize our count to a 0. Okay, so watch what I do. Whenever you add into array, you have this count variable which is keeping track of which position in the array you've just added to. So I found a line. So now I want to put that line into position 1. So I first increase our count. So it will become a 1. And then in array numbers, at position our count, I can add that value. And then the second time it does the loop, it'll increase it to a 2. And it'll put it into position 2. And then it'll do a 3 in position 3, if you get the idea. So what are we wanting to add? We want to take, first of all, the value, not there, the value from, what's the first value? The value that comes from the text file, which is the S line. So S line will be, so we want to add the S line, and we want to add it to, what was it? to position our count, or position 1 of the array. Array add. So we want to take array add at position our count, because it's position 1. And then when we do position 2, we want to get position 2 of the array and add it. Okay, but let's just make sure we have the right thing here. So that is a string, and that is an integer, but I want to add the two strings together to append them and always combine them, squish them together. I don't want to add them as numbers, I want to add them as strings. So I'm going to convert this 8 as a string. I'm going to say, hey, convert this from an int to a string. So it takes that 8 and now it converts the 8 to the string 8, and S line will be the first one, which is a 1, and it will add them together. So it'll be a 1 plus an 8, it'll be 18. But this is an integer. Actually, it might make my life. Did they say we must use an array of integers? Add to add the text file into an array. It doesn't actually say. So to make my life easier, I don't know if this is the right thing. I'm going to make my life easier. I'm going to make my array numbers a string, just so that it makes my life. So take this string and add that string. So now array numbers will be a 1 and an 8 as a string, and then it's going to do the next one and get the second. It'll increase count to position 2. It'll have the second value, the 3, and it'll get the second value from the array, which is a 6. Take that 3, add it to the 6, add it to the count. I think that'll work. That sounds like it'll do what it needs to do, as shown in the diagram using the looping structure. I think we've done that. Now, we must create a text file called multiples of 8.txt, create it, which means it doesn't exist, which means we need to make another text file. So I know we finished with F now, but just to be sure, I'm going to make another file called G, okay, or F write, or F new. Let's call it F new. And so what I'm going to do is we are writing now to a text file. So I'm going to assign file F new to the text file called, what do we want to call it? Multiples of 18.txt. The beauty of having this as a digital copy is I can just copy and paste. Now, we're not assigning or anything. We are creating the text file, so we can assume it doesn't exist. So we are going to rewrite F new. We don't need to append it. We don't need to reset or anything. We're just going to rewrite it, which means create it from the beginning. And then we are going to write those values using a looping structure and display a message once it's done. A text file, so it's 1 on each line. Do you see that? It's going to be 1 on each line. So we need to actually loop through the array and add each one to a new line. So we're going to do that. So we're going to, which you compiled use a looping structure, display a message that the file was successfully written. So let's go. Okay, so we're going to now loop for I equal 1 to, how many values? There are 5 values in my array. And all I'm doing is I'm saying write line to F new. What are we writing? We are writing the array numbers, square bracket R. Okay, so we used iCount here to add to it, and once this is done, now it's fine, it's completed, it's populated. Now we go from 1 to 5 and go add position 1 to the text file. Because it's strings, we don't need to convert anything. It's going to be done all there, and then at the end we must always remember, this is a very key, especially with writing to a text file. You must close the file, otherwise it might not work, and then show some feedback. File created. Okay, now I'm going to test to see if it works. Let's run it. No errors so far. That's a good sign. Okay, let's have a look. So let's click on it. It says, okay, so let's go to the folder. There's a file there. Let's double click on it. Let's hope it works. And Eureka, it looks like it's got all the values. Is those the values that we want? Yep, it looks like it's right. Boom. So there we go. So there's our question done. 21 marks plus the 21. That's 42 marks. So that's a lot of questions, a lot of marks. And it was easy to do. Why? Because I knew my sort algorithm. I knew my text file algorithm to read. And I knew my text file algorithm to write. And by knowing those algorithms, I was able to go through it very quickly. I had to display, or technically this is very close to display, also display an array. So those are easy marks. So you can do this question very easy if you know your algorithms. Okay, so that's question 2 done. Well done. For more revision on arrays and text files, go to our YouTube channel, go to the playlist, and you should find it all over there. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. We'd love to hear from you. And remember, don't do RT the long way. Do it the Mr. Long way.